What's up, guys? It's Ryan Brown with Ryan Brown Home Services and Remax Premier Properties. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what is referred to as wholesaling in the real estate business. This came up in a real estate agent forum I'm in. A lot of agents are pretty salty about wholesalers, and I understand a lot of consumers don't really know what real estate wholesaling is, so we're going to dive into it. If I told you that you could get into real estate investing with no money of your own and with very, very little risk, it would probably sound pretty intriguing. And it does. And so that is why real estate wholesaling has really seemed to take off. And maybe it just seems like it more because it's on my radar a lot more, but it seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And a lot of real estate agents have a big problem with it, because real estate wholesalers do very, very similar things as to what a licensed agent's going to do. But as a licensed agent, you have more laws, ethics guidelines, and guidelines for marketing and promoting properties for sale that you have to abide by because you've chosen to have a license. Whereas a real estate wholesaler is kind of Wild West. It's an unregulated part of the business. Because they don't have to have a license, because they're technically selling their own property. So I'll kind of talk about how that's going to work in just a second. So a real estate wholesaler, what's he have to do? The first thing he needs to do is find properties for sale. Where do they find them for sale? Generating leads, they have to generate leads. They do mailers. You might have seen the postcards come through that will say, I'm interested in your property at whatever, would you like a quick closing and a cash offer? I'd like to make you a cash offer, call this number. And they will send out tons and tons of these postcards in hopes of just getting one or two people to call them back interested in a cash offer. Cold calling, door knocking, I've seen them in the forums and things call it driving for dollars, where they just kind of drive around a neighborhood and you're looking for distressed properties, something boarded up. If you drive through a neighborhood and you find a boarded up property, it's really easy to just get on the PVA and see who owns it and what's their address. And then from there, you can write them a letter. You can try to find them on Facebook. You can try to track down a phone number for them. Whatever's going to be best for you. You find the distressed property, then you find the owner, and you try to get them, to let you sell it. Web ads, and that's just going to be Google AdWords, pay-per-click advertising, things like that. So that if someone, has their house and they're, how do I sell my house quick for cash? And then all of a sudden your ads are going to pop up and they're going to be contacting you. You've probably seen signs on the side of the road, so-and-so buys houses, and they'll have a phone number on there. And the same deal. They just need someone to call. And then there's franchise opportunities. So Home Investors is a big one. The We Buy Ugly Houses people, those are big national franchises, but they have local people here in Louisville that, whenever Home Investors or, We Buy Ugly Houses has a local lead here, they just kick it to them, and so that's just an easy way for those people to get into the business. No idea what it costs or anything like that. And so, the work as a real estate wholesaler is all here. It's all in generating leads, because once you have a property and then you have a good buyer's list, that's all of the work. Once you do this, that's all you have to do. And so what you need then, so I have all these different ways that I'm going to try to find properties to sell, and then I'm going to find people to buy them. And what I see them doing a lot is posting in real estate investor forums or agent forums. Hey, I have properties around here. Is anybody looking for properties in this area? Drop your email. And they build big email lists, and they do text blasts and things like that in order to build a list of people, so that when they do find a property for sale, they're going to actually be able to sell it before their contract expires. And then typically what they do, on a vacant property, the way it's going to work is they're going to send out these emails, and they're going to say, if it's vacant, then they're just going to give a combo so that I can just go see it when I want. And then typically with properties that are occupied, they're just going to do like a one-time showing and make it sort of like an open house. And so that's how the wholesalers are going to find their deals. But then, how does it work once they actually do find the deal? Well, okay, so wholesaler has found a deal. He's going to go to that homeowner now, and he's going to offer them some type of amount of money, whatever it is. Let's say, for our purposes here, let's say it's $80,000. So a wholesaler says, I'm going to give you $80,000 cash for this house, and we're going to close quickly. He's going to use an assignable purchase contract, all right? And now as soon as he's got that signature on that document, he is now blasting out emails and texts to all of his buyers, and he is offering that property that he has for sale under contract with the original homeowner and seller for $80,000. Let's say he sends that out to everybody and says, hey, I've got this great house, it's blah, 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 and I want $95,000 for it. And he's going to set up showings, whether it's a one-time showing or if it's vacant, it's on a combo, however it works. He's going to try to start getting as many people in there as he can to try to find somebody willing to give him, 95, or at least, honestly, anything over 80 is a win because he's got basically no money into it, and so anything over 80 is going to be a win there. So he has probably a short amount of time because he's promised this homeowner that we're going to close cash and quickly, and so he's going to try to quickly get these people in there. Now, for the purposes of this, let's just say that I go see the house. He's asking $95 for it, and I say, okay, I'll give you $90,000 for this house. And so I write him a standard residential sales contract that we use with Gallar, offer to purchase for $90,000. So from there, I am actually a cash buyer, and so I'm not actually sending it out to other people. I'm looking to purchase the property. What he's going to do is set up simultaneous closings. Now, a lot of the wholesalers are going to already have the title work going, and so they're going to have a title company that they want to use to do this closing, but they're going to set up a simultaneous closing. And then this is the way it's going to work, is you're going to have the original owner in one room, you're going to have the investor in another room. The wholesaler is going to be kind of both places because he's going to be, closing with this one, closing with this one. The investor brings the $90,000 was agreed on the final purchase price of the house. This $90,000 that the investor brings is then used to fund the first purchase of $80,000. So this $90,000 goes over here, and $80,000 of this goes to the owner. The remaining $10,000 goes to the wholesaler, and then after the whole thing closes, the investor leaves with no money but a house. This is all legal because the wholesaler is technically taking the title, and they own the house, even if it's only for a couple of minutes, and so they're not marketing other people's houses for sale, they're selling their own properties, which is 100% completely legal. And so that's how it works in a nutshell. And the real kicker about all of this is that the wholesale contract, the assignable purchase contract that most of these guys use, is going to offer them an out if they aren't able to find someone to actually even purchase the property. So that was a quick, easy rundown of the way the deal works. And obviously there are some more nuances and ins and outs of how it's going to work, but that's it. So now we talk kind of the good, the bad, the ugly of real estate wholesaling. Like I told you, a lot of agents are really, really sour about wholesalers because they do a very similar service, but don't abide by any of the marketing or promoting guidelines or ethical guidelines that licensed real estate agents like myself have got to abide by. Now, that being said, there's still good aspects of it. So, for the seller, what's the good? They achieve their goal. If they got a postcard in the mail that said, I'd like to make a cash offer on your property, and they made the choice to call this person and accept whatever number it is that they said, and the deal goes through quick and easy, and they get the amount of money that they were told that they were going to get, then that's a good deal for the seller. It accomplished their goal. Number two, as an investor, it can be a really great source of deals. For me, I'm busy renovating houses and managing rental properties and selling other people's houses and doing a lot of cool stuff. So I don't do any of this over here. And so for me, if I buy a property from a wholesaler, I bring the $90,000 to buy the property. Homeowner gets 80, wholesaler gets 10. Well, this 10,000 here is basically what I've had to pay someone to do all of this for me. And so if you look at it in that way as an investor, these wholesalers providing a service to you by seeking out and finding the properties that we need. And then, the good for the wholesaler is pretty obvious. It could be big money. If you're making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a deal, and you're, it's basically a side job at that point. It's not, for most people doing it full time, especially not when they start off. That's just a pretty sweet gig. The bad, number one, almost always the seller could probably get more money for their property selling it on the open market. And you're going to have real estate commissions. But I guess the good thing about whenever you have a real estate commission is exactly how much money that is. This seller, the original seller, has no idea what I have agreed to pay for the property. If I agree to pay $100 for the property and the original seller is only getting $80 for it, he might never know that. And honestly, the only way that I know what the wholesaler made off of it is after the deal closes and it's recorded downtown, I can go on the PVA and I will look and see, the deed will change hands twice in the same day, and I'll look and see what the original owner got and what the wholesaler got out of it. After the fact is the only time anybody really knows how much money the wholesaler is making, which is a stark contrast to, as a licensed real estate agent, all the fees, commissions, everything is very above board. Exactly. I can charge you as much money as I want, but I have to tell you, and you have to know exactly what's going on. I can't trick you. And two, the bad for the investor is you probably paid more money than you had to for the house. If the seller was willing to accept $80 and I paid $90, well, I paid $10,000 more than I needed to because the seller only wanted $80 for it. And so if I was able to do a little bit better job of doing this stuff myself, then I can probably eliminate the need and the place in the market for the wholesaler. And then the last one down here is the ugly. And I'll tell you, the ugly is the seller can just be deceived by the wholesaler and not actually know what's going on. I've had situations, and I had one property on Caldwell where I had made an offer to the seller because we were working on other properties down there. And so he just asked me if I would be willing to buy his house, and I made an offer on it. He said he was going to hold out for more. A couple days later, I get an email about the same property from a wholesaler, and I ended up going down there. The wholesaler had apparently told the homeowner that he was having contractors come through and take a look at stuff, but that wasn't true at all. He was trying to find someone to buy the house, and what happened was he wasn't able to find someone to buy the house, and so the homeowner, who needed to sell it quick, ended up in a much worse financial position because this went on for 3 or 4 weeks of him, the original wholesaler, trying to sell a house and not being able to. And so then, bills and things are stacking up whenever he thought he was going to get this cash. And eventually what happened was the wholesaler just walked, because like I said, they typically are going to have a clause in that contract that if they can't find the buyer, then they don't have to buy it. And that was another thing that the homeowner had no idea about. And long story short, I ended up going back and purchasing the property from him later on down the road anyway, which is going to be a really cool house once we start on it. But, that's the bad part, is that as the average consumer and homeowner isn't really well versed in the real estate business, there's really a lot of opportunity within real estate wholesaling for the consumer to be deceived, and it can be a shady business. It doesn't have to be, and I'm sure there are a lot of really great wholesalers out there that treat people really well, but there can definitely be kind of a dark and shady side of the business.